All right, all eyes are on Beijing. President Trump arriving in China to red carpets, cheering crowds, and a massive ceremonial welcoming this morning. The trip marks the first high-stakes meeting between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping in nearly 9 years, with the two leaders expected to discuss everything from the Iran war to the global race for artificial intelligence. While I say his arrival was, dare I say, fit for a king, tonight is when the real show begins. Florida Congressman and gubernatorial candidate Byron Donalds, sir, how do you think this one's going to go down?
Well, I think that we're going to have very productive meetings between President Trump and Xi Jinping. Like you said at the top, major issues, some dealing with trade, obviously AI. I think there probably could be a lot of movement on what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz. The Chinese need access to that oil, quite frankly, more than we do. But it's impacting global oil prices. Everybody's feeling it across the globe. And that's simply because the Iranian regime is a terrorist dictatorship hell-bent on nuclear weapons, and they have no problem squeezing the world to get to their crazy ends. And so the president's right to hold the Iranians accountable, to stop their nuclear program, to take their nuclear dust that they've already been enriching. I think you're going to see there could be some movement coming out of these meetings in China.
Yeah, well, and some of the things I imagine are going to be look, I have no doubt that the stock market's probably going to roar from this. There's going to be some deal, and everything's going to be good for America at the end of this. But let's talk about what China's doing, and Trump's probably having these discussions. Hilarious, by the way. Chinese people have been infiltrating Democrats, not Republicans that I know about. We got Eric Swalwell, slept with a Chinese, allegedly. Fang Fang, Senator Dianne Feinstein staffer turned out to be a Chinese spy for like 20 years. Aide to New York Governor Kathy Hochul, accused of being secret agent for China. Got a lavish perks and all these things. Obviously, you got the Chinese police stations that we shut down. Then you've got the recent one, this mayor, Eileen Wang, just resigned after she admitted she was acting as a Chinese spy.
It's a big issue. Look, the Chinese obviously are trying to get as much information about how we conduct our business because they are our biggest rival on the globe. I think this stuff has to be held accountable. My colleague from Florida, Representative Kamik, she had legislation that would require when you hire staffers on Capitol Hill that they get background checks. I think that's something that the House should revisit because this is becoming a major issue that's being revealed to the American people.
You don't have to get a background check?
We have to get very, very serious about that.
You don't have to get a background check to work?
For congressional staff, no.
I had to get one to work here.
Isn't that interesting?
I think that could be like number one that you should be doing there. All right, so let's talk about your gubernatorial race here. You are the favored guy.
Yeah. Well, things have been going very, very well. We're blessed. Glad to have the support of President Trump and his full endorsement, Senator Scott. But we've been all over the state of Florida. We've been crisscrossing the state, talking to the people of Florida, and being focused on the issues that matter in this election. And that's how do you make sure that we push down the cost of insurance, property taxes. Governor DeSantis and the legislature are going to weigh in on that. I hope that they're very successful in getting real relief for the people of Florida and getting rid of homestead property taxes in our state. But it's also about road construction, managing growth for the future of Florida, building out our economy, and then making sure our young people have a real pathway towards success so they can put food on the table, put a roof over their head, and build the Florida dream for themselves the way I was able to build it in my life with my wife, Erica.
But, sir, let's talk about that, because you guys are like the number one recipient of people leaving states like the one that I live in and work in, New York. You've got people from Connecticut and all over leaving to go to your state, and Democrats sit there shaking their head, and they can't figure out why. It's like, well, we're trying to get rid of property taxes. You guys are raising them. How do you deal with people like this?
Actually, the people who choose to come to Florida, they're coming for a reason. They're coming for the way of life. They're coming for the common sense. They're coming for the conservative policy. And mostly they're coming to have a state that just leaves you alone, that lets you live your life, that prioritizes law and order, that backs the blue, that really follows those common sense policies that people, regardless of party, I think this is not about the voters of our country. The voters of our country just want common sense to reign. That's what they want more than anything else. And they find that in Florida. So people, whether they're coming from from New York or California, Illinois, they come to Florida and they say, thank God I got here. I should have came 5 years ago. And, these conversations I have around the state of Florida are how do we keep Florida the free state? How do we keep it the conservative state that it is, the #1 state in all of America? So we're very blessed in our state, but you can't take anything for granted. You have to make sure you stand firm on principles first and then sound policy that's going to keep Florida, Florida.
Yeah, well, the other thing, too, is when you go to those states, don't bring your liberal crap that you left to that state. That's the biggest problem, I think, there. All right, well.
It's part of the handbook that they have to read before they become a Florida resident. Part of the handbook.
I love it. Congressman Byron Donalds, we appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.